show
still
up a
there?
bunch.
Yes.
But it's Sarah Palin's dress, you know, that's big news these days, or bailing out GM, and so it's, you know, it's us, the viewership that really sets the pace.
Well, as Pogo said, we have met the enemy, and
Exactly.
he is us.
Yeah. So I think, and hopefully in your doctoral thesis, you'll not only look out the lens, but look back and see who's watching.
Well, I certainly consider the beginning of the space age and the space exploration the biggest news story ever in any century, any time, and you gentlemen certainly were incredibly important parts of that story. I know that Frank Borman and Jim Lovell both had a chance after Apollo 8 to draw on their experiences from that flight and be guest experts on television news and network coverage of the space program. And I'm wondering if you have any recollections from those chances that you had to be on network television explaining the space program during later missions, please.
To be honest with you, it's kind of like today. It really was very similar today, except it was 40 years ago.
And memories slip a little bit.
One phenomenon I've found that's interesting is that an astronaut is assumed by many in the public to be an expert on almost anything. And many of our colleagues will, you know, answer almost anything. You know.
Which colleagues would those be, Bill?
You know who I'm talking about.
Some of them even see UFOs once in a while.
Oh, it's getting tough up here again. Wait a minute. It's a line of fire. Did you have a further question?
Well, if you were advising the television networks now in terms of paying attention to space exploration to try to get them to give more heed to it, how would you encourage them to do that? Because it's almost invisible on network even news. We're having a space shuttle launch Friday night. We've just concluded the Mars Polar Lander mission this week, and most of the public doesn't probably even realize those things.
If you're a cynic like me, the news is to be able to show a commercial now and then. And in order to have a paying commercial, you have to have people watching. So it's got to be soap opera. Okay, I'm sad to say. It's got to be an exploding Apollo 13 or space shuttle or a beautiful Hubble picture. But the workaday stuff, you know, with I bet hardly anybody watches the NASA channel. And it's pretty interesting if you watch it.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
Well, I hope I am too, but I'll bet I'm not.
Bill, we're on NASA.
Well, that's my point.
Well, so far you've blown up news, you've blown up NASA, you've blown up the audience. Is there anybody else you can offend?
I think it's important that we don't. I think it's important that we don't start enjoying our own bathwater, and there's been a lot of that. Sorry.
You guys, it was a long 6 days.
You'll understand our problem now.
Okay. I suppose one of the questions that I'd like to ask has to do with this event. And what I mean by that is you all were together for a very intense 6 days, and other times, for a very long period of time.
You can't believe when Frank got sick how intense it was.
That was very intense. I think our perception is that once you have been sort of conjoined in that kind of an effort, that you are probably you probably stay in touch all the time. That you talk to each other once a month, or you visit, or you have a reunion. Is that true, or is it not?
Well, I think we remain very good friends. We don't stay in touch. We have reunions. We're going to have one in San Diego here next month. But you know, I had absolute confidence in these two gentlemen sitting here. Trusted my life to them. When you do that, when you feel that way about, they remain friends forever. That's just it's a unique experience. It doesn't mean I go around. We don't see each other every day, and Anderson's sometimes a pain in the ass. But
I didn't notice that.
But I
didn't notice that. No. What a surprise!
I just can't think of any two people I would have rather flown with and had more confidence in who came through. That was as good a mission, as perfect a mission as ever been flown because of these guys.
Well, I'd say because of Frank's leadership. I mean, quite frankly. And another factor is...
Wait a minute. You're going to turn nice all of a sudden?
I'm basically nice. I just don't want it to go to his head. But I think another factor is I think we're the only crew who are still married to our same wives. And the wives keep in touch probably more than we do.
We had some genetic similarity.
Yeah.
Well, let's see now. That takes care of the rest of the astronauts.
Nick, you have to remember that Frank and I were on a 2-week mission together And when we got down on the aircraft carrier after 2 weeks, Frank said, please be informed we're engaged.
Who said that? He said it.
Somebody said it. What do you think
But
about
I didn't dare ask or tell.
these? Obviously, this hugely successful mission, and yet, Jim, you really have to think a 13 is very successful, don't you?
Well, you know, NASA survives on achievements. Apollo8, Apollo 11. When 13 came back initially, after the initial euphoria of getting us back safely, they tried to forget about it. The command module was exiled to Paris. It was there for many, many years, and they went on to other things. I think it wasn't until years and years later when it suddenly became a realization that although Apollo 13 was a failure in every part of the initial concept, it had only one successful experiment, and that was done primarily by NASA control, the mission control. But it was very much a success and a triumph in the ability of people working together with great leadership like Gene Kranz and the Tiger team and all the people in NASA, finding solutions to crisis one after the other to get a crippled spacecraft back home safely. And so in that respect, Apollo 13 was unique in the Apollo program about being a failure, its initial mission being a tremendous success in the ability of people to do things.
Jim, thank you. And thank you,
Could
Bill.
I add-
Thank you, Frank. We're out of time, I'm sorry.
Okay, but just for your audience.
It's been a great time. Thank you very much, Jim Lovell, Bill Anders, Frank Borman. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you. It was a great show, gentlemen. You were terrific. Thank you.
For your
Thank you.
for your